till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. I'm walking alone, the streets are empty. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for regrets. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Feel like a dynamite, ready to explode right up in the sky. I need you to listen, I need you to hear, and don't show any fear. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. over now, I must conclude. I am conflicted, watching where I step still, hanging in the balance, not the life I want to live. I want to take it all, standing tall, fear I weighed the person you are. Oh, break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent.
right there. You should be, yeah.
What?
The speaker. Into a live stream. Да.
Test. Okay. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to our first Fintech Conference. This is the first conference in such kind here in AUBG, and we're all thankful for you to be here. Now,
we have select experts joining us here today to share their knowledge and insights from the industry, and we hope you find their sessions informative and inspiring.
but before we kick things off, we have a surprise coming your way. You have the chance to win a voucher for a 2-night stay at Kings Valley Hotel for 2, with breakfast included, in the hotel's superior room.
So please, don't forget to register during the breaks. The winner could be you. Scan the QR code at front of your seats and follow the instructions given in the forum. Good luck to everyone.
Now, let's welcome our first speakers. Let's give a round of applause as well again. Thank you. PwC has been operating in Bulgaria for the last 3 decades. Their portfolio network includes 8 partners, auditors, consultants, and tax experts. We'll hear from Mrs. Snezhana Ilieva, Stoyo Permatarov, and Yordan Denicin. With extraordinary experience in data science, project development, and machine learning, they'll be sharing their perspectives on a multitude of topics, such as open banking and the future of wealth management. And by the way, just a quick note, the people around the central console, please try and be a bit more quieter, as we have a live stream coming, and there's 2 microphones, so please beware. Try not to talk as much. Thank you.
Cool. Can you guys hear me? Do you want me to speak on the microphone, or is that okay?
It's okay, yeah.
I'm sorry, can you speak on the microphone just to people to hear on the live stream?
Okay.
Thank you.
By the way, can everybody make sure they silence their phones before we begin?
Cool. Hopefully you can guys hear me. It's really great to be here actually, and to welcome you and to talk to you about the topic of wealth management and what my team is doing actually to essentially revolutionize or transform the way we think about wealth management. My name is Snezhana, and I'm a director at PwC. I lead the AI practice for Southeastern Europe. But as you might guess from the converse, and maybe from the accent, actually the last 12 years I spent in the UK. And a lot of the work that I did there was centered on wealth management, and particularly on operationalizing or developing different AI models with the aim of either transaction monitoring, personalizing offering, advice and coaching, and so on. So what we've planned for you today is ultimately to talk through, again, what is wealth management, how we think about wealth management, and also to talk to you about some of the cool things that my team is doing. But before we jump into this, I'd like to also give them the opportunity to talk a little bit more about themselves, and we also have an alumni here from AUBG.
Hello, my name is Will. I'm an alumni from LBG, and in the past 4 years I've been working in capital markets and in data science, and I've also put a lot of time in developing the project that we're going to present to you today. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jordan. Unfortunately, I'm the only one from the lineup who has no affiliation with either the city or the university, but I have it here. My experience is similar to Stuyo's, so I have a technical degree, and then I worked in banking, so the obvious next step or development area was combining the two with some sort of modeling in the investment area, so that's what we're going to talk about today.
And I just wanted to do a bit of an introduction in case you don't see the pictures, but hey. So when you think about wealth management, what are the images that generally comes to mind? Wealthy CEOs making Forbes Power 50, maybe? Or potentially CEOs of FTSE 500. Yes, historically, that may have been the case and the way you would think about wealth management. But that's changing, and there is a large cohort of people, we normally call them mass affluent or mass affluent segment, that would actually be an underserved cohort in a lot of markets. And maybe when I started with my introduction, something that I wanted to mention. When you hear these slides, when you look at these slides, when you hear what we say, you might think of, okay, well, wealth management is maybe not so, I would say, prominent in our market. But I hope with some of the things that we talked to you today about, you'd like to, or you get the inspiration to think about areas or underserved markets or even underserved segments that you could potentially address with some of the solutions that we're talking about here. But when it comes to, again, mass affluent, again, maybe not a name that you would hear or a concept that you would hear quite often, but most often than not, and this is a stat from the US, when we talk about mass affluent, we don't mean the high or ultra high net worth individuals, so people who have liquid assets of over 1 million. And liquid assets, we talk about cash, bonds, properties, investments, or even savings. We normally talk about people who have, and the definition or the thresholds differ whether we're talking about the UK or whether we're talking about the US. In the US, we're talking about people who have liquid assets of over 100,000. In the UK, that threshold can vary of over 75,000. So again, significantly lesser in terms of the amount of wealth that they possess, but also, I would say, significantly sufficient to think about how you can target them. And they're a critical segment, by the way, for the banks. And most often than not, these people, these mass affluent consumers, probably people like your parents or people who are who are like sort of young entrepreneurs, they most often than not, again, get treated the same as someone who would have £10 in their account or £100 in their account, specifically in the UK, when we see how the market performs. And however, looking at the proportion, even if we look at the US, again, this is a US stat, if we look at the number of households, mass affluent represents about 32 million households. And imagine, again, that most often than not, these people will only have 40% of their wealth stored in one bank. How many of you have multiple banks? Or do you use your bank for your investments and your savings? Multiple banks?
Yes.
Multiple services? Well, why is that? Is it because your bank can't meet your needs, or just because you find better rates or offers elsewhere as well?
Combination.
Okay.
Convenience.
Yeah, as well. But think about trying to have a single view of your wealth. I have investments as well. And when I try and think about where my investments are going, as well as where my savings are going, or how am I spending, especially if I'm spending between multiple banks, it becomes quite tricky. I have to pull the information from one bank, second bank, then the investment, try and build my single view of wealth, and think about, okay, maybe I've overspent this time on retail or cinema or whatever. I mean, this is a basic example. But similar to this, most often than not, these people will only use 40% of their wealth with one bank just because they're underserved. And most often than not, they will not be getting the best out of the products that the bank can offer to them because they're treated as every other customer. And there is this one-to-many approach to customization, even if the word customization makes sense here. So if we move again to what are these people looking for? I mean, again, they're probably looking for what you're looking for. So digital offering with a human touch, options for face-to-face, but options for remote as well. And most often than not, similar to how you're using your Netflix or your Spotify, you want to be able to understand how a product works, why is it beneficial, what are the investment options for you, which one is most suitable for you based on your wealth at this stage. But if your bank can't see your overall wealth, they really can't understand what's best for you if they only see a quarter or portion of it. They also want hyper-personalization. I mean, most often than not, I get, or sometimes, I get funny emails telling me, for example, oh, well, here's a children's insurance, or how to plan for your children. I still don't have children. Maybe, again, this is not a great example, but it's not personalized. And that's the key, right? If you receive things which are relevant to you, it's even less likely that you look at them. And then product choice. Most banks, if we take even Bulgaria as an example, would rarely offer investment services which were appealing to the mass affluent market. You would most often than not resort to other areas to put your investments into. And that's the same in the UK. It's not just in Bulgaria or the Southeastern European market. And I think the final thing is the superior customer experience. So how can you onboard without, or when you're joining a bank, or when you're trying to streamline all your assets or wealth, how can you do that as seamlessly as possible without having to encounter multiple errors, having to call multiple agents and so on? That's again quite a need that it still seems underserved. And then you might tell me, okay, you're talking about combining all this information about our financial accounts, about our investments in a single place. How? How many of you have heard about open banking or open finance? Okay. It's, I wouldn't call it a novel concept because it really isn't. It was underpinned by a regulation in 2018 called PSD2, not the most exciting name, but it's a payments regulation. So what open banking means, it's essentially a concept that allows third-party providers, think of your bank, think of your insurer, think of your pension provider, think of your investment manager, into a single place, or to exchange, but not to a single place, but to exchange information between themselves through APIs. And if you actually look at some of the local banks, and if you put a developer API, let's say just with the name of some of the local banks, you'll see that most of them actually have that developer API. And with your consent, obviously, they can exchange that information. So that's the concept of open banking. Again, the initiative was introduced in 2018. It's a European-wide initiative. There are similar initiatives going on in the US, although not as formalized. But again, the idea is that banks can provide access to payment services data to third-party providers with the consumer consent. And you can actually withdraw your consent within 90 days, where banks are actually required to prompt you every 90 days to reaffirm that you're happy for your data to be shared with X, Y, and Z. There's another concept which is currently going on in the Benelux region. It's a kind of open wealth rather than open banking, where different asset wealth managers are trying to combine and think about how they can exchange information about different asset wealth management transactions or profiles, so although it can become quite confidential, nothing has fruition there. But the European Union is actually pushing quite a lot for open finance data, which extends beyond, or open data, which extends beyond just banking or financial services. It could be your telecommunications provider. It could be retailers that you use. Again, with the whole idea of seamlessly allowing you to exchange information with the aim of two things, I would say: providing a single view of information that you may find relevant, because again, if I were to combine all the different financial assets that I hold with different banks or institutions, it can be quite a cumbersome task. And two, allowing you for greater personalization. I would assume most often than not, you don't want to just use your bank or your investment provider as a platform to execute services or payments. It's also about them proactively guiding you towards a path which may be suitable for you as well, or is aligned towards your goals. And we've talked about recently, or there's a talk recently about goal-based investment as well. So that's the idea, really tailoring any services that are coming your way to be aligned with your personal wealth, personal aims, personal goals, and so on. And with all that background set forth to you, we'll move on to what we actually did or what we've been working on. And again, I've mentioned that this accelerator that we've been working on is very much influenced by the UK market, but the idea is to inspire you, because I'm sure there's so many loopholes or woes that we see in our local markets or local banks, and hopefully inspire you to think about how you may address these. So Dancho, over to you.
Thanks, Neji. And thinking about all the points that Neji just introduced, we conceptualized this wealth management solution, which combines all the opportunities that were introduced by the availability of data in recent times with all the needs of these customers to basically provide them a more personalized experience, something that's tailored to them, but also takes into account not only a single account or the finances in a single provider, but actually combine everything. So this is something that it's going to become really important. As Neji mentioned, some of the Bulgarian banks have it. Almost no one uses it. So most people, even in the industry, are surprised that this thing exists. But our solution, it combines the data from all different sources, all different banks and other financial applications and institutions to have this holistic view of how your finances look. It also provides a personalized insights and products which are really tailored to the goals that you have as an individual, because not all of us are interested in the same things. Some of us want to travel, some of us want to work hard and then retire early. Some want to just chill out and work continuously, but not do anything special, not invest too much. Some are more risk averse, some are not. And what's also interesting about these people is that usually having this amount of savings, more than 100,000 US dollars, you probably have some idea about finance, you probably know some things, and you expect that when you're doing something, when you're investing, you should understand it. It's not like you're blindly following advice. However, they aren't in this top bracket where they can receive continuously top financial advice, but they still expect some sort of advice, coaching, whenever they are interested and whenever they need it. And all these points are, of course, underpinned, as we're data guys, by a data analytics engine which uses all this data with different models, usually machine learning, some are more statistical, and we'll mention some of them, to really provide these advices. So, for example, customer segmentation. Okay, we have data about multiple customers, so how can we use something that works for one to another? What would be the next best action when we don't have this advisor who constantly looks at your finances? Okay, he probably can use some sort of model output to tell you what's the next best action. And the solution basically combines everything. So the problem that we're tackling is this large segment which are underserved because they have the money, but they feel like they don't have enough money to have this personal finance assistant to tell them what to do. But they still want some personalization. They aren't for all the regular products. The segment is growing and growing, so this is going to be something that's a lot more important in the coming years. A lot more people are falling into this bracket, and they still don't have the solutions to actually make use of their assets. And such a personalized solution can really help them, but also the wealth managers from the other side, because currently they have these gaps of this segment that they can serve, they are missing as clients, but they don't really have the time or the opportunity or the resources to really help them. So this also helps both sides. And to really make this possible, there's quite a lot here on this slide, but basically there are different data, and with different data analytic solutions and data science, and with the open banking, you can actually do quite a lot compared to, say, 5 years ago. So one core pillar is the financial data. Of course, as Neji suggested, you can basically connect all of your apps to the same place. So all of your savings, investments, you can see them from there, your insurance. You can also introduce your goals, because, for example, you might want to buy a house, buy a car, you might want to get your couple of kids through education, or you might not have kids, so you want to focus on something else. And you can use these all as inputs to get this personalized, tailored to your needs solution. The people like you pillar is leveraging the fact that the usefulness of this product. So if multiple people are using it, we have more and more data, and we can make more analysis which compare the different needs, the different solutions, what has worked and what has not, and the behavior of that data, because when you receive a suggestion, you might ignore it, you might go for it, which really further informs the models behind the scenes what you're really after. Because, for example, you might say that, okay, you are risk averse, but every time you get an opportunity to invest in something risky, you do. So you probably aren't, and you have a poor idea of like what your actual risk averseness is. So where these data come from, of course, one is open banking, the existing customer base, and your actions in the, think of it as an app where you make these decisions. And how are these useful? So, for example, the financial data, you might get this suggestion that, okay, you have, you see on the next slide, but you have a lot of money in this bank, which is just sitting there in a savings account. You're also investing in another bank, in something that brings you quite a lot of interest, but you aren't really maximizing what you can and minimizing the risk, of course. And this is continuously improving, as I said, because when we have different customers and you have all the behavioral data of what they are after, what they're implementing and whatnot, you can actually continuously see, okay, if no one is taking on this suggestion and everyone's like complaining about it, there is probably something wrong. So it's self-improvable. And harnessing all these data from the different sources in different ways, in different models, you can actually get this holistic picture, which is holistic because it uses the whole picture and information about lots of people, but it also makes it personalized based on the large amounts of data and the models behind it. So this is an example of what can actually this solution give, because we've talked a lot, it probably doesn't really make much sense. But for example, a single user, George, who is 38, his personal goal, biggest goal, is that he wants to take a sabbatical in a few years. So this is something that's personalized about, not everyone wants to do that, but a lot of people which are in his position with some savings, they can afford it and they might want to do it. He can also introduce as inputs basically his situation. So who is he? He is married, he has a house, he has a set income, and using the open banking data about previous months, previous years, we can also estimate both his income and both his expenses. So we know in the future how it looks, like how his financial situation looks like, what he will have. I don't know if you can see, but he doesn't have investment policies. He has some money in one account, in a current account. Then he has two different cash ISAs, which is basically a individual saving account, which is something that in the UK, for example, it's up until a certain limit, it's not taxable, so it's a really good investment opportunity, and you can have like multiple options. So either you just normal savings account, which is the interest is not taxable, but you can also invest with it. But he has only cash ICAs, so he doesn't make the most of it. And he has a life policy with a certain insurer, which is also both an expense, both a potential income source, which comes from another financial institution, which is, in this case, it's not a bank, but it's also important to his case. And the main issue for such people, because he has around £100,000, which is quite a lot. But if he goes to, I don't know, his Barclays account or whatever general banking app, you'll probably receive something super basic, which doesn't really, okay, this is our standard product, our savings account, go for it. But he might want more, but he can't really afford to go to see a financial advisor to get a personalized strategy. And the other thing is, now you can basically learn everything, you can search for everything, you can find anything on the internet, but it's quite hard to start with your investment journey if you don't know where. While the solution that we've conceptualized, it also introduces not only what to do, but why to do it, with extra resources of why this is useful, why other things, alternatives might not be. So he also gets this concept of, this element of education, continuous education, and not only investing, but knowing why he invests. And a person goes through many things, of course, during his life, but in this case, is different periods of when he's earning more, spending more. For example, towards the end of their life, you don't earn as much, you might have a lot of unexpected expenses. but it's quite hard to account for all these changes. So all these circumstances, all your goals, and when to invest, when to stop investing, how you're going to be financially independent by also reaching your goals. Because, okay, you want to buy your first home, you have children, you have to pay for them. You start planning for your retirement usually quite early nowadays. It's around 20 or 30, 40 probably. But you still have a few years, a lot of years, unfortunately, 2025. Which are full of risk, so you don't really know what to do. You can't predict it, but you have to account for it somehow. And using machine learning and all this available data, and especially all the data about different people, you can actually make quite robust decisions. And as I mentioned, yeah, so for example, based on the models, some of them provide the next best action. So it's sort of a pop-up notification. Okay, you can probably, the money that you have just in a savings account, you haven't reached your cap in your ISA, so you can probably move all your money to the same bank. Don't use it in a cash ISA, but rather invest in stocks or in bonds. And you're again not really risk investments. You have access to your money, but you're maximizing everything. You're maximizing your returns while minimizing the risk. And this helps you reach your goals by this and this. So, for example, it makes your saving the money for your tuition fees for your children 2 years earlier, which is a great thing. Or you can retire a couple of years early, which again is amazing. But that's specific for you. So it's only based on your needs and your opportunities. And there are lots of, I'd say, different models or different tools which can help you with investment. But something that's quite difficult is to actually plan for your retirement, because that's while you're working, you can also always adjust. Okay, you can probably choose another job if you don't need the money or you need more time, whatever. When you're in your retirement, you usually don't have as much income. You mostly need to rely on your assets and your investments. You also have quite varying expenses, so many things can go badly, and it's quite hard to plan for all these circumstances. And this is something that Stu and I, with the support of Sneji, have worked a lot in the last few months. So I'll pass to Stuiski to present more about the accumulation tool.
Thank you, Dancho. This wealth management sector also has a pretty big segment in retirement, and there is a lot of things that we can do with machine learning. And we've identified a problem that many mass affluent people, when they're retired, they're accumulating a lot of their savings, and when they're retired, they actually don't use that money. They rely only on their pension because they don't have a proper consumption plan, and they're missing out in their retirement years on spending the appropriate amount of money and still having some wealth to live for the people after them. And we have developed a solution that takes a deep learning approach to take into consideration the wealth of the person, their willingness to give inheritance and bequest motive, their risk aversion, their portfolio preferences, and also how to make a utility curve that it's useful for them to follow a proper spending plan. For this decumulation plan, a consumption plan for retirees to spend the appropriate amount of money throughout their retirement years, we need to consider a few building blocks. The first one is the macroeconomic environment. And when we present this tool to a retiree, we have built our own economic scenario generator. It takes into consideration inflation, domestic equity, foreign equity, bonds, real estate, and everything to make a plan for the next years throughout the retirement of the person, so they can have an idea what to expect. We have also considered a portfolio. if we present these two to a wealth manager, they can adjust, they can put their own portfolio as well as the macroeconomic scenarios because they're experts in that and they probably have very good idea how to manage their investments. But in the base case that we have built, we take a rather balanced. It takes a combination between a growth portfolio and a defensive one. The growth one considers stocks and real estate, whereas the defensive portfolio considers more savings accounts and bonds. Another thing that should definitely be in the equation is the pension engine, because throughout everywhere in the world they have different systems. There are pillar systems, there are systems based on more social regulations, and we have to consider how the country is providing the pension to the person when we calculate a perfect consumption plan. And probably the most important thing in the whole accumulation and consumption planning process is the utility, which is a combination between the risk aversion and the bequest motives, how much they are willing to give to their children and relatives. We are using a utility curve that combines those two factors, and the deep learning model that we are using optimizes this utility curve to provide the proper consumption plan for each period that we are evaluating. And this is essentially how it looks like. We take from the retiree or the wealth manager some inputs into the model. That's the total wealth. It can be taken from the open banking that we have already talked about. The desired age of retirement of the person, that's before they're actually going to retirement if they would like to make a plan for their upcoming years. Risk aversion and bequest as coefficients, so we can see how much they would like to spend, what portfolio they would like, a rather less risky or more risky one. And with those inputs, we put it into our model, which is a deep neural network. The model also considers the macroeconomic environment that we have already generated. We have made many scenarios, and when we make the consumption plan, we consider also some shocks. The investment portfolio, the pension engine to see if earlier on one consumption plan is better than another, and of course the utility function that's vital for it to work. And I don't know if you can see well, but this is an example. This is with synthetic data, with any data that we have given here. And the blue line is the wealth, and the orange line is the consumption. And this is an example of a retiree that would like to spend most of their money earlier on in their pension to enjoy life while they're still healthy, but still also have some wealth for their later retirement years. And also in the end, I don't know if you can see, but the wealth also increases, because they would like to have some inheritance, and in this case they have a higher bequest motive. And such a tool has mainly applications in wealth management. It provides support for the wealth manager to give a better plan for retirees to have better planning for their future years, to have a proper standard of living that they deserve with all the money that they have accumulated throughout their career. And also they can make a better planning steps before they retire. They can use this model to set goals. When I finish my journey, I would like to leave this much amount of wealth to my children. I want to have this and this lifestyle. I'm so risky, and when we put this into the model, we can give a proper retirement age and proper, needed amount of wealth to enter the retirement years. And it can be used for analysis with different macroeconomic environments. When we create different scenarios, we can see how black swan events might affect the consumption plan of a retiree. If there is an increase in the interest rates, how that affect their portfolio and again their consumption plan. If they're expecting a high one-time expense in a hospital, or all kinds of cases we can foresee with such a tool. And for wealth managers especially, this is very useful for understanding their customers, to see how different people are behaving and what kind of pension plan they would like to have, and they can compare, they can make segments on their own to see how different people would prefer to make a consumption plan for their retirement. And also it can make it easier for retirees to have a balanced portfolio with their consumption, because they would have a better idea in the future how much they can set aside for future investments, how much they can consume, and still maintain the lifestyle that they have. And this is the retirement accumulation that we are preparing for wealth managers and for retirees. And with this, that concludes our presentation, and I hope that we have broadened your knowledge about wealth management, about open banking, PSD2, how the sector is going forward implementing machine learning and other recent improvements in the AI sector. And we will take questions now. Thank you.
Question. So, your model, is it predicting what your customer will be behaving financially, or is it to produce a suggestion to your customer?
It's definitely a suggestion. It's not set in stone that they should make this consumption plan, but it considers their risk aversion.
It's generating an idea.
It is generating, yeah. It takes an input, the wealth, the risk aversion, and the bequest motives and the macroeconomic analysis, and it makes a suggestion based on how their risk aversion, how they can spend throughout the years, and also to have a balanced consumption and investment plan throughout the years.
Investment portfolio management here, and I also hold the CFA, and every year students ask me for advice, financial advice. And I said, look, I can't give you that because I'm not legally registered as a financial advisor here, and I haven't spent the time finding out theory, risk aversion, the concentration of your income, and the correlation of that with your investment portfolio. And there's quite a long list of reasons why I can't give investment advice. So I was just wondering, how do you guys get around these problems, one, of registration? Because what you say could be construed as financial advice, which there are probably laws against here in Bulgaria. And also, how do you look at things like the correlation of someone's personal wealth with the investment portfolio that you're suggesting to them, because certain things where you have an overconcentration of wealth can be problematic.
I can maybe take that one. So, as this is developed for the UK, you're absolutely right. So, when we're talking about direct investment recommendations, you can never recommend directly to someone to invest something, especially robo-advisory, big no-no. However, these recommendations could be passed on to the advisor or the wealth manager. And it's the wealth manager to actually discern what is important, what is relevant based on the conversations they've had with the individual, and then either adjust it, modified it. I mean, with the approach that Stu and Dantra had taken, it was a reinforcement learning approach. So you've seen that in game development. You reward or you punish the model. So based on some of the conversations that perhaps the wealth manager has with the individual,
he can then adjust what or some of the thresholds in the model and then recalibrate it potentially. But then ultimately the final recommendation will come from the wealth manager. It wouldn't come from the model per se. Where there may be suggestions is the first part where we can see products, and they would not be recommendations as to what to invest, but more like, have you considered an ISA or an investment ISA? If you have all your, let's say, wealth stored in a savings account of an interest of 2%, when you could potentially think about another, I would say, more profitable way, although more risky, way of managing your finances. I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah, it's good, because basically in Britain, you can't give financial advice without specifically tailoring it to that individual. So, you know, the question is, how can you stop someone who's in Britain downloading an app from, say, a Bulgarian app provider, and therefore you expose yourself to legal risk in Britain? So I was wondering how you get around that problem.
So
seems you understand the problem, I'm just not understanding the solution to the problem.
Yeah, so we actually don't, I mean, like, again, the application is solely developed for the UK, not developed for Bulgaria, not pushed anywhere to Bulgaria. It is hosted on the client's own infrastructure, and again, it's not something publicly available.
It's a white label product, is that right?
Yeah. So it's not something that anyone can sort of lift and shift. It is customized towards the asset portfolio of the wealth manager or of the asset and wealth manager, depending on what they're specializing, or the bank, because actually the first idea of the two accelerators that you saw came from a bank, one of the leading banks in the UK, and they were really fixed on actually seeing a lot of their affluent clients not doing any investments with them. So they were like, can we perhaps bridge that gap and start thinking about investment offers or even partnering with other investment providers to be able to kind of still retain these clients with us. So everything is customized towards the client's own thing. Nothing is, publicly available, shifted and lifted from here to there.
Good.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one thing that is the most important one when it comes to managing your wealth, what would it be?
Is that in terms of maximizing your wealth, or just generally making sure that, I think it's very important to understand how prone to risk you are, and that I'll pass the baton to my colleagues as well, because obviously if you want to have a steady, I would say, income, or sort of have a certain savings and then have a steady income coming to you, you probably want to invest in bonds or yields, and you know that you don't want to risk your wealth. But at the same time, you may not be winning as much throughout the next 5-10 years. But if you're more risk averse, then you can sort of actually trade bonds. And then you have to accept that the risk will be higher, but so will the return. So I think that's just understanding first how risk averse you are, kind of what's your perception or threshold of risk, and I think also what are your goals. And have you set certain goals that you plan for yourself? So that will obviously lead to how you optimize where you invest, what you invest, and even maybe inform your risk. I'll hand over to my colleagues as well, if they have any ideas.
And in the case for consumption, it's also important to balance how much you spend, how much you save, and we are not really the investment managers. We are just looking at the data. We see how the model can learn better from the data, how to optimize the utility curve. It's more of a data-driven solution rather than a knowledge in the field.
Thank you.
Maybe you answered a little bit, but I was going to ask, so your product is not directly targeted to customers, and it's targeted to big like banks, and that's correct? Yes.
That's correct. It's not something that we're launching at PwC. It's very prone to either providing external audit services or consulting services. So we are quite restricted in the direct access to consumers that we can provide. But again, as I've mentioned, it was inspired by one of the major banks in the UK, and they were looking for solutions to help, I would say, personalize their offering to this mass affluent cohort, which was underserved. So that's where the inspiration came from. But then in conversations with wealth managers, we found out that that's actually another gap that they're facing as well, not just banks, obviously. So that's where it came from. It's essentially, we call it an accelerator because the skeleton per se, if you'd like to call it this way, with every model, with every data is there, but then it's customized towards the client's own data infrastructure, their own technology infrastructure, and so on. So, yeah.
May I ask a question about the model, the neural network, the design, or is this then you know, so for the I suppose for the data that goes in, it's a sequence of scalars. So eventually it's just a vector, and then there are no images or any other special type digital data that's involved other than just the sequence of scalars. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's
So
correct.
then your model would be something like say random forest or something like that. What?
It's a reinforcement, so it's a deep neural net approach, so it's reinforcement learning. And again, with most traditional
On reinforcement on what value you're reinforcing.
So it's the consumption, the utility curve, yeah. So again, the cool thing about reinforcement learning, for those of you who are not data scientists and do this day to day, most traditional models, if you were to predict, let's say, how your retirement would look like over a period of 10 or 15 years, if you use traditional models, and I call traditional models more supervised machine learning models, you have to sort of have a model for each year where you take the outputs from the previous year, you use them as the inputs for the new model, and so on. With reinforcement learning, what you're having is essentially the model automatically scaling and adjusting its ways based on the outputs from the previous year and using them as inputs to the next year. And then again, as I've mentioned, the model automatically can penalize, or it can award itself, or you can award it or you can penalize it. Again, that's very common in game development, and it sounds super weird, but you know how we've seen Go players and sort of, a model actually beating one of the most famous Go players, I think in 2016, is the same concept, right? The model teaches from itself, from its mistakes, improves on, and then adjusts its weights to be able to produce a reasonable output.
So what is the objective, and what are you rewarding, and what are you placing a negative scalar on?
The objective is the utility function, which basically based on how you want to consume and how risk averse you are. So there are several parameters going into it. You try to optimize your utility, which is a proxy of how are you gonna spend your retirement. And the issue that we faced and why it's reinforcement learning is that the advice on how much and where you invest next year is based on what you've done so far and how the market performs and your investment performs during this year, or this month, because it's every time what you can do in the future is, and we are trying to predict 30 years into the future, is based on what has happened already.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for all the information you share with us. And we have now a little break, and we'll continue 5:05 here.
the sun. To dream, believe in strength. Now I'm the only one, only one. I was an ordinary boy until I broke the rules. My life destroyed, life destroyed. Until I woke awake, scream my mind, I shout, the ground shakes. How much can I take? My mind will break. Will it break? Can I take? Can I be your superhero? Fly away. It's the first time of today. Today. To dream, believe. You are the strength, you're all I need. Need. Oh, gonna give it a shot. Only one of me to shield you all from the enemy. You're a superhero. You're a superhero. Can I be your superhero? Superhero. 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 Can I be your superhero? I don't know what you want. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side. My love. monster inside of me. You better watch out if your enemy's a road ahead of full prophecy. To be the greatest beast the world has ever seen. I feed him every day like the bones clean. I feed him all the hate and he grows me. And he gets caught real big, pissed off quick. And if you cross him, you might drop dead. Metaphorically, of course, settling the score. Never getting bored, lots of blood and gore. Always wanting more, freedom from the source. They don't really understand until they feel it. Forced apart in. If you start shit, you'll be heartless in the darkness. Torn apart quick, you left scars ripped. You'll be chewed up and discarded. And this world ain't bright, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. When there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. And this world ain't bright, won't accept it. Negative energy, I expect it. Once it's in your mind, it's infectious. So fight for your life and reject it. You better give me space, I'm protective. My adrenaline spikes when I'm threatened. And if you stay in my way, I'm aggressive. Cause when there's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate. There's no exit, I'll kill when I'm desperate.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up, babe. Tonight we gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up.
please welcome Tech Chefs. They're committed to provide high-quality learning experiences that help people grow and reach their full potential. We'll be hearing 2 consecutive sessions featuring seasoned IT experts Nikolai Nenov and Ivan Lefterov. They're both sporting 2 decades of high-level corporate experiences, accelerating professional careers and leveraging the power of real-life examples via captivating storytelling. Ivan Lefterov will be sharing his wisdom on blockchains. Mr. Lefterov, welcome.
Okay. You hear me?
Can I try that?
Oh, good?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's really nice being here with you. Blockchain is a really controversial and interesting topic, and I believe it's partially interesting for the financial world as well as the technical world. In that regard, I will start with just a brief, or maybe not so brief, introduction of Tech Chefs and me in person. Tech Chefs is a very unique, I would say, organization of 4 people, all of them IT experts with like 20 years on the field. We're trying to bridge the gap between the employers and the newly coming out of the university employees. So very briefly about me, mathematics course in Wrocław, bachelor degree in communication technologies, primarily programming, then master's degree in management, 20 years experience in information technologies. Around 10 years of building teams for different companies, like international ones, like car companies, banks, or you can think about it. Very recently, strong into Agile and DevOps. Here you can find my contacts, our aim, me, and Nikolai, who is also here. Our aim is to not just come here, read few words, and then disappear, but remain open for questioning and contact. And if we can be of use of any of you, you are welcome. So, blockchain. I believe every one of you have heard of blockchain and most probably connected with cryptocurrency. After the whole thing that we're going to hear now, I'll be having 1 or 2 questions about you. Of course, the first question is, who is Satoshi Nakamoto? And whoever wins it will win. Yeah?
He's said to be the person who wrote the original white paper that gave rise to Bitcoin. Said to be, because he wrote it anonymously.
There is a very interesting documentary recently issued by HBO, and they actually don't know whether it's a group or an individual, but his claim over blockchain, actually blockchain is not a new technology, it's something invented in the 60s. It's really nothing new. Whatever, the thing that was famous about it is just this quote. The root problem of the conventional currencies is all the trust that it's required to make it work. Like all the banks, all the financial institutions, all the centralized authorities, you need to trust them in order for your money to work. It cannot just work like that. What is blockchain? It's really simple, actually. It is an encrypted, distributed database. For the IT world, that's everything that's behind the blockchain. For the financial world, it's a little bit different. It is a decentralized, distributed ledger technology that records transactions. It has 4 key aspects. Immutable, this means that it cannot be destroyed. Transparent, you can always check what transaction is made, no matter when. It is secure because it's encrypted, and there is a consensus mechanism standing behind it. And it's tamper-proofed. Once thing is recorded into the blockchain, it cannot be changed. It cannot be changed because it is a network of many nodes, and it is centered all around. It is settled all around the world. Key components of blockchain. Blocks. Of course, there needs to be something where you should write your transactions. A block usually consists of 2,400 records. It's just similar to a ledger that the banks have. You just write whatever transaction you did. Chains. That's the link of blocks. I mean, when your notebook is over, you need another notebook, a new one. And there needs to be a mechanism how you link all those blocks and notebooks together to make the chain. Nodes that are all the participants in the network. Or maybe some of you have heard it or tried it. Most of them are called miners. Consensus mechanism. That is a mechanism ensuring the integrity of the network. It's a mechanism saying that if I sell a coin or buy, I don't know, a bottle of water, that this claim is always true and all the participants in the blockchain actually guarantees that this is true. In that regard, it's maybe one of the fairest and most trustworthy mechanisms for transactions in the history of mankind, because all the participants guarantee that whatever is written there is true. Hash functions. Hash function, it is I try to put it here without any deep formulas or etc. But the original hash function is something very strange. It's actually not even in the Bible. Hash function is a mathematical function that whatever text you put in it, it has the same fixed output. That is an example of the hash function over there with that long sentence. This is an example for a hash value or a digest using the hash function SHA-256. And that's the output over there. But the same length output we have just by this. This is a SHA-256. So it doesn't matter how long the blockchain is or how big the block is, it always has the same output, which is actually making it irreversible. You cannot just decrypt it and get change anything into it. And you will see why. This is how is the blocks in a blockchain linked into a block. So imagine this as a piece of paper, and you put some transactions there. You're buying a car, selling a phone, or whatever it is. At the end of every block, when it's already out of space, there is a mathematical function, like the one you saw in the previous slide, that guarantees that this block is true. And when you have the next block, it starts with the function from the previous block, thus linking all the blocks together. If you change this one, you change everything there. If you change this one, you change from here to there. And this is how actually the blockchain is linked. This is how the blocks are linked together. A few key concepts here. What is a miner? A miner is a participant in the blockchain who actually do any work. What can be this work? It is solving a very complex mathematical puzzle. Usually that complex mathematical puzzle is creating the hash function, because you need all the encryption and all the mathematical power and computation that you need to do. It actually requests computational power. So all the miners, they do the so-called mining. And this is why it is there is a term called consensus. When you mine and actually solve this hash function, you create a new block. And with the new block, you're actually adding it to the blockchain, and you cannot add it to the blockchain unless you have a consensus. Consensus.
This one is better.
Okay. Consensus means that all the participants or miners into the blockchain, they agree for the new block to be created. Because, you know, nobody wants a bank that contains a false information. Consensus mechanisms, there are actually many of them, but only 3 of them are famous. Proof of work, proof of stake, and delegated proof of stake. Here you can, I have put a brief diagram that compares few of them, but it's very simple now that you think about it. Proof of work is the computational power that you did in order to resolve a hash function or any mathematical puzzles that stands beside any coin. For example, if you are talking about a coin. But there is a significant limitation here. If you see, there is a 7 up to 30 transactions per second, which is ridiculously slow. Any Visa card that you hold is actually doing tens of thousands of transactions per second. And it also requires a lot of power because, electricity, because computational power requires electricity power. Proof of stake is something very different. It is first started with Ethereum 2.0. Maybe you have all heard of Ethereum, Bitcoin, etc., so it's nothing new to you. But proof of stake is the more money you have, the bigger the stake into the blockchain is. It's not proof of work. The more work you do, the more coins you get. Here, the more money you have, the more money you are paid, which is kind of close to the real life now that you think about it. Delegated proof of stake, it's a voting-based system because with the proof of stake, you may have the coins, but you are not allowed to create new blocks or to validate anything unless you are nominated as a validator. In the delegated proof of stake, it's a voting-based system. It's like a world democracy. Everyone can vote, and if the majority, 51 of the participants, actually vote for a certain block or a record that is true, it actually goes to the blockchain, and it's recorded as a truth. That's called a consensus mechanism. So now we come to something very curious, tokens. I believe most of you think of tokens as cryptocurrencies, but it's really not that. Cryptocurrency is just a version of a token. A token is a digital asset. It's just a digital asset representing a unique value. There are many types of tokens. I have listed, how many have I listed? 4. Utility tokens, security tokens, stablecoin tokens, government tokens. And if you think about it, governance tokens, they are used in many places. On a later slide, I have given an example that in the United States, in Virginia, governance tokens are used to create electronic voting based on blockchain. Because if we remember the first slide, they are immutable, secure, and tamper-proofed. Utility token, that's any token that gives you access to a service, being it Ethereum service, being it clean air service that our United Nations uses, or any kind of service. Then we have the security token. Security token represents an ownership of an external asset. That is very curious. Ownership of a non-digital asset. A digital proof for a non-digital asset. And of course, stable coins. Those stable coins are usually coins connected to outside real money. For example, now there are few banks united together that are writing the digital euro. Digital euro is a kind of a stable coin. It's based on blockchain, but it's not cryptocurrency. It's a token, stable token. Key features, of course, programmable, transferable, divisible. What does this mean? Transferable, I can transfer my coins to you. Divisible, I can divide my coins into like half or quarter or whatever I need. and programmable. You can program them by using smart contracts. And smart contracts, that's a very interesting piece of code. It lies directly into the block of the blockchain, and it is executable under some certain conditions. For example, okay, one condition can be sell my crypto if it goes up with 20%, or award this miner if he finds a new block in the blockchain with how many tokens, because the more miners there are in a blockchain, the less tokens they get. This is why everyone is telling us that Bitcoin are harder to mine nowadays than in 10 years. That's just because of that. There are too many miners, too many transactions, and there is a fixed amount of coins that can be rewarded, 21 millions. So the more you mine, the less you get, although you do a lot of work there. They are trustless. This means that they do not need a third-party authority. They cannot be regulated by any outside institution. And they also need an oracle. An oracle is a data coming from a trusted provider from outside world. It's a little bit contradicting with the previous statement, but the previous statement is saying authorizing, and here is saying feeding data. The most accurate example I can give here is that a lot of gambling providers, I don't know, I don't want to say names, but a lot of gambling providers are creating ecosystems where you can gamble real money, transfer into currencies, and build on blockchains. It's part of the Web3 society, and those are distributed apps. We will see some examples a little bit later in the presentation. And of course, immutable. Immutable, once deployed, they cannot be altered. They exist on all nodes. I have given one very interesting example. I don't know if any of you have heard about the European nation Clean Air token. No one? It's a very interesting concept. The clean air is associated with CO2 emissions. And a clear air token is a token that is rewarded to the guys that contribute to a cleaner air. You plant a plant, and of course you plant a tree, and of course you get a token because you purify the air. And that's a currency token, like it's a crypto token. But then you have a car. The same guy that plants a tree have a car. And he needs to drive it, and the car emits CO2 emissions. So in order for the CO2 emissions to be emitted, like you pay for the emissions, you pay with the tokens you have already earned with the planting the tree. And that's a real concept into the CO2 emission world. It's first invented in 1972 with the Act of the Green Energy, which is quite long in the past. Looks like it's not that new technology after all. It's just like Bitcoin popularized in 2003 or 2006, somewhere there. Okay, another interesting thing about blockchain, and something that you may be able to make a lot of money with now that I think about it, it's NFT, non-fungible tokens. The difference between regular tokens and non-fungible tokens is that non-fungible tokens, it cannot be divisible. It's a unique token. If you start thinking about money, like regular money, they are fungible. €1 can be easily exchanged with another €1. They are totally the same, they have the same value. But a picture of the first tweet of that guy, Jack, it cannot be traded for another tweet of the same guy, because the metadata is different, the timestamp is different, everything is different. Although it may be saying the same words. It's different, it's unique, there cannot be any two same NFTs. This is why it's really often used in the art world, like songs, music, literature, video, photography, especially photography. There is a very interesting site for photographers that if you need to render a picture or create something, and you don't have the computational power to do it because rendering something requires a lot of power, you upload it there. There is a decentralized application based on blockchains that renders it for you, but you pay with a coin. And if you are a participant into the computers that renders the picture, you get a coin. Key characteristics of the NFTs, they are unique, as I said. They are indivisible. If you torn a picture in two, it's not the same picture, so you cannot torn it. Half a picture doesn't worth it. They represent ownership, interoperability, and programmable. They can be programmed. Actually, that's a real price there. It's really almost $3 million for that tweet. That's the first tweet on the topic sent ever. Distributed ledgers. So we have used to have ledgers all human or mankind history. Ledger, it can be a bank, it can be just a notebook where someone writes transactions and etc. But when you distribute it, this is where all the security comes. Because imagine a bank, and you are using that bank, that every person that uses the bank has a record of all its transactions. And if you have a record of all the transactions, you can actually have a saying into whether they are true or not. So, digital ledgers into the blockchain, they are transparent. Every usage of the bank has the same records as every other. I know your money, you know my money, and etc. They are decentralized, of course, because they are on different computers or on different nodes. They are immutable, and they are secure. Why are they immutable? Because there is a consensus mechanism there. And we'll talk about it. We have spoken about it, but we have a little bit more to discuss there. In order to have that ledger, you need to, just like a bank account, you have an IBAN and you can send money there. The same is with digital ledgers. You can send money there to the digital ledger. But how can that happen and how can this be secured? It is secured because it's based on a public-private key encryption. Maybe some of you has digital signatures or Eurotrust or something like that. It's the same. It's based on the same concept. What's the difference between public and private key? Public key can be shared with everyone. And public key can be used as an address where you can send your money to. Or with that thing, you can just see that you are you. It's a signature. Private key is the key that is used to generate your public key, and it needs to be kept safe. It actually gives you access to all your money, or your crypto, or your tokens on the blockchain. It's the same with your signatures. If I have your private key, I can falsify your signature. It's just that simple. Key points. Public key is deterministic, but it's not random. It's determined. It is derived from the private key. It's irreversible. Once you have, you cannot generate the private key from the public key, and it's unique because it's a cryptographic function. Blockchain also gives you access to a whole different concept of internet. Imagine an internet where you don't have a DNS server, you don't have trackers, you don't have people sniffing or stealing your password. It's all decentralized. It's called Web3 society. There are already a lot of pages that actually, for example, Steam it, for the gamers, you know Steam, that's equivalent of it, but with the blockchain version. We have Airbnb, we have Amazon, which is the same version, but on blockchain. What does this mean? It means that part of the information is stored on one node, the other part is stored on the other node. There is no easy way to actually identify you and track you, which is internet hipsters are liking it. Of course, with that, here comes the limitations. Everybody thinks that blockchain, artificial intelligence, and all the robots are going to save the world, and everybody is telling us, use it, use it, use it. And weirdly enough, the biggest weaknesses of both are their key features. I said that there is a consensus mechanism that actually make it trustful and secure, but over there you see security and 51% attack. If you own 51% of the computational power in proof of work, you can double spend coins, you can alter records, you can say a transaction is not valid. Yes, it's really hard to hack it because you are one person against the world. But if that one person is the Chinese governance, who knows? Another thing, again, proof of work, energy consumption. You know that the new computers and gaming cards and processors, they require a lot of, they are very powerful, but they require a lot of electricity. And with that, the price comes very, very, very high. Ever-growing number of miners. The more people hear about blockchain, the more they like it, the more they like it, the more they want to participate in it and mine it, because when you mine a token, it looks like it's for free because you're not buying it, but you pay for electricity. But that's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is that the more miners we have, the bigger the complexity of getting a coin is. To the absurdity that 10 years ago I could mine a Bitcoin, like 10 Bitcoins in a month. Now I can mine 0.001 or something like that in a month, which is ridiculously small. Some of those limitations can be overcome with changing the the consensus mechanism instead of proof of work with proof of stake like Ethereum did. But with proof of stake, what does it mean? The more money you have, the more truthful you are. Ring the bell like the normal world. Where is the security there? Scalability and cost, they are not scalable at all. Even now, Bitcoin can transfer only seven transfers per second. This means that you want to pay something, but if you are the 8th one, you need to wait. And if you are the 7 billion person that is doing a transaction, you need to wait a lot. This is because of the limitation of the block size. Every blocks have a size of 2,400 records. Imagine to be limited to do 204,400 records, I don't know, for a month. Maybe if you just go and buy some small things, you're going to use it in a week or so. Ethereum has a number of 15. With the new Ethereum, it goes up to 30, but it's still very small. Visa starts with tens of thousands. So, another thing, data privacy. Whenever you do a record into the blockchain, it's always there. It cannot be hidden. It can be visible by everyone. I may not want my wife to see that I bought a motorcycle last year and I'm hiding it into the garage or so. So where is all the data privacy there? Governance and regulations and upgrades. If you want to upgrade a version of a blockchain, that goes into a very complicated fork. I believe everyone who has read or used cryptocurrency, they know about the forks. Ethereum versus Ethereum Classic, Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash, and many, many others. Those are originally the same, but after a version upgrade, part of the society said, we don't want this, part of the society said, we want this new feature. So there is a limitation there. Although it's a brilliant technology, and I just took some time to list 13 out of millions useful scenarios. NFTs like CryptoKitties, you can go online and brief kitties for money. Energy tradings, Let me just see some of the most curious one. Medical and healthcare management, because it's a unique conception of your medical condition. Over there, supply chain management, companies like IBM, Walmart, they invest into that. Voting systems, West Virginia, which pilot a blockchain-based voting application, and many, many others. Of course, side to that, you can donate money without being traced, without being governed, without being watched by a bank or anything, to, let's say, a criminal organization or something like that. So it's just like a knife, you can cut bread or you can cut people. Yeah, that's it.
Coding, ciphering a long time ago. The mining that they do, is that primarily looking for new, well not new, they've always been there, prime numbers?
No, it depends. So the most common mathematical puzzles that the miners solve is decrypting the hash function. Not decrypting, but creating the hash function. Why they need to create it? Because with the hash function, they create the new block. And without creating a new block, there cannot be an additional block in the blockchain. It just cut. I don't know if the hash function is based on a prime numbers, because there are many different hash functions, and they depend on the blockchain, on the protocol in the blockchain. For example, Bitcoin started with what I gave you here, with the SHA-256. Ethereum uses different hash function.
So then if Bitcoin has a limited currency, then ultimately a limited number of Bitcoins are like, what would be the motivation for if there are no more Bitcoins from doing work?
Good question. Nobody knows. Actually, there is a lot of money stashed away by Satoshi itself, and they used to joke with him and say, him or her or the group of people, why didn't he burn it? But he didn't. He stashed away 51% of the all Bitcoins that exists. He's the richest man on the planet at the moment. And he stashed it away just to protect the blockchain from the 51 attack. There is, I don't know, I guess with the limited awards that you are getting for mining at the moment, you are preventing more people to get in and spend more due for electricity. Who knows?
If we get superconductors and supercomputers based on superconductors, then that inhibition is going to go, that hurdle is going to fall through.
Yes. With the new computers, like let's say quantum computers, where they have like hundreds of more computational power, we will reach this limitation in maybe minutes. Who knows? But yes, you're going into the right direction. At some point, there will be no more Bitcoins to mine. And it will be just the ones that are circulating the system. This is what makes them the digital gold, actually. It's not just that the Bitcoin is first, it's just that it's unique into the use, into the protocol that is building.
But then if there's no more incentive to create, like to discover new hashes, like what's going to protect the future of the ledger if there's no more incentive to create more hashes?
If you don't create more hashes, you don't create more blocks. If you don't create more blocks, you cannot write transactions. Good question. I don't know, really. It's a conundrum that if we hit, we'll have to face one of the two things. We either stop using it for transaction records and use it as a digital gold, like we use the gold now. You don't go to buy bread with gold, you just use it for keeping safe your money. We transfer into that regard. Or we increase the size. There is this is one of the forks between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. They want to increase the size of the block. Instead of being 2,400, it doubles, it triples, it goes 4 times bigger. But
okay, thanks.
Yes.
So we see that the limitation of most cryptocurrencies is their TPS. How do more scaled versions of cryptocurrencies like Solana, XRP, higher TPS versions solve that trilemma of scalability, decentralization, and security?
The easiest way to do that is like you said Solana, but there is also another very curious cryptocurrency, Polkadot. They create a higher layer of it. One of the limitations of the classic blockchains, if I put it that way, is that if you have bitcoins, you cannot buy ethers. If you have ethers, you cannot buy Polkadot. You cannot use them in the same ecosystem. But with Polkadot, they create an additional layer that is actually creating parachains that is linking different blockchains, and you can use blockchain on Ethereum or Solana, on a Solana ecosystem. And that's one of the ways to do it. There are other ways like parallel transferring, but it all depends on the protocol that the specific blockchain decides to use. At the moment, there isn't that much progress there. It's still very far away from regular Visa and MasterCard transactions, like in hundreds of times away. Yes?
Do you have a favorite shitcoin that you think that will increase the price?
I have a favorite shitcoin. I have the feeling that it may not be that shitty that I think. It's called SEA. SEA.
SEA, alright.
Yes. And it's still 70 stutinki per coin, so it's still shitty.
Nice.
Okay, thank you guys, and it was really pleasure.
See you soon. Now we have another break, and make sure to sign up for the Spark giveaway if you haven't already. Thank you.
in the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you. In the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you.
Take me in slow, breathe me in and let me go. Filling the lungs inside you, and the blackened eyes make my way into your mind. Just to know what you knew. Restless every time we start locking eyes. Lost control. Oh, it's paradise with a nasty bite. In the dead of the night. empty your heart to find you. Open up your eyes till you're blinded by the lies, so you can see what you do. Restless every time we start locking eyes. Lost control. Oh, it's paradise with honesty, but at heart, in the dead of the night. Teardrops on the floor. The pain is over. Feel the darkness take control. Empty hearts and neon lights. They're playing with my mind. Gotta get out of here tonight. Oh, I wanna run off and fly. And I'll tell myself it's fine to be alone, just to find somewhere that finally feels like home. Oh, oh, oh. I hate all this overthinking. Oh, 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 oh. The more I swim, the more I'm sinking. Take me to a world of silver. No more heartbreaks, tears, painkillers. Take me somewhere unfamiliar. Bring me back to where we started out. Get me out of now. To where we started out. Get me out of now. To where we started out. La 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 la, oh, oh. Get me out of broken hearts and starting fights, turning truth to lies. Gotta get up, stop wasting time. Yeah, I wanna run off and fly. And I'll tell myself it's fine to be alone, just to find somewhere that finally feels like home. Oh, oh, oh. I hate all this overthinking. Oh, 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 oh. The more I swim, the more I'm sinking. Take me to a world of silver. No more heartbreaks, tears, pain.
up a little too fast. I miss the days that we chill and relax. Where did the time go? It all passed. Now I need to go back. I had no worries, but always had plans. Only thing I did was pick out the trash. Now it's much harder to laugh. Hard to get up and not work on my craft. I need inspiration. Don't need no validation. No more medication. Should try some meditating. I don't need you to save me. Feel like all of you hate me. Everything's been so hard with all the situations lately. I just need to numb the pain for a minute. I just wanna run away on vacation. I don't know what else to say now. I just need to numb the pain. Well, maybe I'm done, maybe I've lost. Still putting up a fight because I love my mom, I love my family. When I was young, they would all look after me. I don't know why, but I feel like a burden. I spent my life overthinking my purpose. Can't really cry, I'm so used to the hurt. Trauma keeps tripping me at the wrong moment. Oh, I just wanna numb the pain for a minute. I just wanna run away on vacation. I don't know what else to say now. I just need to numb the pain.
back, everyone. Hope you had a great break. Just a quick note about the giveaway form. It's closing at 6:30, so make sure you have signed before that. And now, up next, we have the second round of Tech Chess, presenting to you Mr. Nikolai Nenov. He'll be talking about financial independence.
Hello everyone, you hear me well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Quick question for you all. How many ways do you know of getting rich very quickly? Sorry, legal ways. Please.
Gambling.
What's the probability?
Well, 1 favorable, 1,000, 1 million, depends on the price.
6 out of 49 is 1 out of 14 million. Okay.
Yeah. Selling courses online, how to make money.
So this is not going to be quick, definitely.
I've seen some people that have made a lot of money.
Day trading.
Day trading, it's not going to be quick.
It's going to involve a lot of money. It's not going to be a positive result.
Yeah. Please.
Dropshipping.
Come again?
Dropshipping.
Selling stuff, reselling stuff online.
It's not going to be quick.
Probably it's not. We're leveraging up on a option. You can leverage up very high on an option portfolio. The probability of it to come off. Well, you're assuming it's sufficiently priced.
Okay, this is the professional speaking here. I can give you a couple more options. Rich legacy. Inheritance. Also, marriage at convenience. It's a better option, I think. Faster. Yes, please.
Take out a bank loan and then leave the country.
Yeah, nice. I said legal, but okay.
But it's illegal.
Somewhere it's legal. Yeah.
File for
Nice.
bankruptcy.
Nice. Okay. When I started in the university, I studied STEM, computer science. One of the first lections of a professor, he said two very important things when it comes to finance. You, engineers, will never be as rich as economists. That was the first thing.
As the engineers as rich as that.
You will never be as rich as the economists. And the second thing was, when it comes to finance, the difference between you engineers and the economists is that you spend other people's money as they're your own. Two things. And I was thinking for this event, what can bring some value to you, short or long term. Obviously, you have more money. Obviously, on the theoretical side, you know more about finances. So I decided to talk to you about financial freedom. It's something personal for every one of us, and making money out of other people's money is one thing, but taking care of your own money is different thing. So, first of all, have in mind that financial freedom is the necessary step towards being wealthy. What's the difference? Can we go to the first one? Financial. What's the difference? And the difference is very simple. You cannot be rich without being financially free. Or, in other words, the necessary step. On the other hand, rich people, they usually buy assets to generate more profit. Instead, people that are financially free, they just support their lifestyle. Their lifestyle. There are many definitions of financial freedom. As you can see,
to survive significant changes. Of course, if the changes are for good, we are not going even to mention them. But usually some negative events or live comfortably without worrying of financial constraints, or it can be a condition. So it comes to say that financial freedom actually is something very personal, that every one of us has her own definition of that. And in the end of the day, it's not even necessary other people to understand it. Because your personal financial freedom supports your personal lifestyle. Period. That's about the definition and difference between financially free and rich people. What are the benefits? I have listed only a few of them. In general, it's related to not making major changes in personal life just because there are some financial constraints, or we are talking only about the negative effect again, not the positive. We don't mention it. So reduce financial stress. Every one of us strives for something. You, at the moment, at this stage of majority of you, at this stage of your life, where you are supposed to try some things, especially when it comes to job opportunities, fail at them, which is perfectly fine. Try other stuff. That's to survive such moments. Early retirement, it's not, no one says that when I'm ready for early retirement, it means I will stop any work. No. It means that I can afford it. That's it, not more than that. So, from that point of view, the only benefits. What characteristics financial freedom has? First, this is a process for life. Once a person builds the necessary steps and habits to become financially free, this becomes part of the life of that person. So, from that point of view, it continues all life. It's comprehensive, and it combines all the four items: expenses, income, debt, and habits. When you have you're on, everyone is on his way to becoming financially free, then he pays attention to income, expenses, which builds habits, and so on and so on. So it's everything is combined. It's connected. Strongly personal. I mentioned it. It's no need other people to understand it. No need. Stable. It's supposed to take you through the hard moments. That's the whole idea. What steps people can take? First one is goal. Have a goal. Can you give me some comparatively aggressive goal related to
retire at age 40?
40. Nice. Okay. That's aggressive. I cannot do it anymore. Something else?
Don't work. Don't work.
At what age?
It's 30 maybe, something like that.
At 30, okay. This is more aggressive. Are you going to bet it?
Yeah. Be able to afford to have a really expensive mistress like a yacht.
Okay.
Okay. That costs a lot of money.
Okay.
Make be on the Forbes 30 on the 30 list?
Nice. Okay. Here a little comment about the business environment. Probably you have to pick another country where you should do it. Yeah. Okay. Clearance of the goal means that I live with it. It's in my head all the time. Clear. That's it. Of course, it's long-term depending. If you are ready to retire at 36, probably you're going to change your goal after it. Achievable. That's an interesting thing about achievable. Imagine the goal is being able to retire at 40. But let's say you fail at 40 and you succeed to do it at 42. Loser. Yeah, loser. So you're a loser. That's it. The question is how many people actually can afford to retire at 42? So is it achievable? I would say if you achieve it at some 80, 90%, you're perfectly fine. It's not supposed to be exactly achievable. You know, after that comes the plan. How we are going to achieve it. Obviously, you have to live with it. That's first step. How we are going to achieve that plan. Now comes the list and the pen and some calculations here. What are we going to do with the income? What are we going to do with expenses? Savings. Here we're going to make everyday decisions related to these three: expenses, savings, income. We're talking about daily decisions here. After that, I will show you some graphics. Here, what are we going to invest, if at all, how, and so on and so on. And most probably, it requires gaining knowledge, at least in the beginning. So, the plan and the execution of the plan are two different things. And yeah, the plan will deviate with time. Sometimes it's going to go down, sometimes you'll be able to catch up for a couple of months, and so on and so on. Sometimes it's going to be overachieved. So, when it comes to the plan, we have several aspects of this plan. Income. This means what type of profession we are going to pick. Obviously, you all have a direction here regarding the profession. What's going to be, what will happen with the income? Is it going to be all by employment, or we'll think of early starting to generate new income? Savings. How much we are going to save? Look, there is a very slight. It's how to say it. The few dollars is the difference between healthy saving and misery. Please have in mind. Later on, I'll come to that. Expenses. Many people live from a paycheck to a paycheck, which could be fine for a certain period of time, depending on social aspect, depending on many things. Is it good? Personal decision. I cannot judge. No one can judge. And in the end, investments. What are we going to do it? How? Where? What? And so on and so on. I believe you're better in this than me. These four, every one of it taken separately may become a huge deviation from the plan. They are all combined here. We cannot only think about savings. We will end up in misery. We cannot stare only at the income without putting expenses under control, and so on and so on. They four go together always, all the time. So this is regarding the steps in the plan. Now let's see some simulation of real life. Let's have one guy. Majority of you are at this stage, 22, 23 years old, at the start of the career, and actually this person will have some 45 years until retirement, approximately, something like that. Usually, this person is single. Usually, at the start of the career, she doesn't have working habits, and so on and so on. Second person, around 37, 38, we're talking about periods of 15 years until retirement. So usually this person is married with kids, usually, statistically talking. It's not, it doesn't work, it doesn't fit for all. Third person, 52, 53, 15 years until retirement approximately. And this, you see this is very long in time. It will come fast, really. It will come very fast. Let's get these three persons, and they, one morning they wake up and they say, look, I would like to be financially free. Let's see what's the profile, the financial profile of these people one by one. The income is comparatively low. What it means that it's low, it means that there is a huge potential for growth for the profession that this person has chosen. He's in the beginning. There is a huge potential for growth. This means low income. Most probably, this person could be in top 20% in, let's say, top 20% in the salaries in Bulgaria. But for his profession, it's a low income. He's at the start of the career. Savings, or not, small or not at all, usually. I'm not saying that this is usually. The currency of this person is time. Inexhaustive resource is time at that point of life. Many perspectives, usually not debt. No one will give him a loan. No? Low expenses because this person lives alone, most probably. And low financial literacy, but not you. We're talking about the other side of the city. Okay? The second person, probably this person has a profession and experience in it, which means professional. So the income, if they work one and the same profession, usually the second person will get more. Increase savings because most probably this person has kids and college fund and their fund, emergency fund, and so on and so on. Times this person starts to feel the limitations of time on a daily basis, and that 30 years until retirement. For example, I can give you an example. Last week in the bank, I'm not allowed to take any more mortgage of 30, 35 years. Not allowed. 25 years is the maximum for me. So time starts to limit this person. Less perspectives due to the fact that this person takes care of other people, kids, mostly. Possibility for debt, bigger expenses due to, again, kids and family. Financial literacy is higher, comparatively higher. If it's enough, it's another story. And the third person, he's at the peak of the career. Now, there are some professions that, for example, in IT, 20 years ago, it was some 45 was the peak. Now it moved to 55. It depends on the profession, really. It is expected that he will have more expenses than these two. Less time, very few perspectives. Probably the banks will reject any big credits there. Who knows? It depends. Low expenses because most probably because his kids grew up and they're in the American University of Sofia, Bulgaria. So they're here. So this person doesn't have expenses and higher financial literacy. So this is again comparatively. Majority of people, I'm not talking about you, I'm not talking about me or someone else. Just, and now let them put one and say goals. I bet on 45, not 40. Early retirement at 55. 5,000 a month when retiring, and assets of 2 million at retirement. This may mean, many things. Obviously, for the last person, the first goal is not valid at all. Early retirement at 55, if this person wakes up and with empty pockets, it's also invalid, for sure. Or he may gamble 1 to 14 million. Who knows? So if these people put these financial goals, one and the same for all of them, look what most probably they all will do one and the same thing. No? First, there will be the emergency fund. We'll put under control the spendings and expenses, everything. Invest, probably may consult with someone, and so on and so on. Most probably they will try to do one and the same thing. Most probably. And here is a little picture of what may happen, again, statistically with the income, where you hit the peak of the profession, and after that, the chance that you are going up is suddenly goes down or disappear. After that, savings, it's expected to grow. It depends how risky you are. It depends on how seriously you take your money. Expenses, at some point, they will start to go down. Investment, it's far from real life. This is if we need to draw a line for 45 years, it may look this way, but definitely the idea is that it will grow. And now, what is going the first person to do? So statistically, during his whole life, he will come across 4 to 5 financial crises. Now, it's true that each one cycling between 8 and 12 years, 4 or 5. Here I have mentioned the active life, where this person works. So this is, again, statistically, it's true that crises become shorter and the recovery becomes shorter. So it may come out that it's going to be 10 or none. Who knows? Statistically. And this person has a high tolerance to risk. It doesn't mean that he's risky as a person. It means that when a negative event happens, he'll have enough time, energy, and skill to recover. This is the meaning of high tolerance to risk. And look what's going on now with the goals, the 4 goals. If he would like to become a millionaire at 45 each month, now I'll explain what 4, 6, and 8% mean, but how much he need to save and respectively invest. 4% investment which generates up to 4% is considered approximately low risk. Around 6% is average. 8 and above 8 is considered very well established portfolio and very good income. Probably the professionals have another opinion. Let's hear these numbers. There may be 3, 5 and a 5, 9, doesn't matter. What's going on? How much he is supposed to save and invest. This is monthly, by the way. 2,500 units. If he would like to receive a 5K at retirement with 4%, with 6, with 8%, which means that for this particular person, the earlier he starts, obviously, and the longer the goal is, the lower the investment from the income. Now, there is a tricky moment here, because back on the slide with financial profile, apart from a lot of time, this particular person has a lot of perspectives. So here there is a tricky moment about the savings. It may come out that increasing the savings actually reduces the chance for perspectives. Or I can give you an example. Due to shortage in the wallet, you decide that you're not going to have a drink with someone who potentially you can do business with. Long time. So here we're talking about savings and perspectives, and the combination of the two. That's the whole idea. So the recommendation for this person is stick to the plan. Do not try to overachieve it at this stage, because you may benefit of the other two, time and perspectives. Here, same scenario, just the time is less, so 2 to 4 crises. Some tolerance to financial risk, much lower than the previous person. I think the first goal disappears here, or very unachievable for majority of people. You see monthly what's going on. Same for the rest. Again, there are still some perspectives for this person. And the third guy, usually these people at this stage, they look for stability and predictability. 1 to 2 financial crises, and please have in mind, because he has only some kind of a 15 years, it may come out that when this person retires, actually it's going to be a bottom, and he won't be able to recover. This is quite risky. That's why it's very low tolerance to risk. Obviously, the first two goals, when I calculated this number, don't ask me, the other ones were looking very small. So I just removed it, it's unapplicable here. Look what, you remember 5K at retirement, how much was supposed to save and invest the other 2%. It was a few times less. And in the end, look, if for the 2 million, again, sounds like totally unachievable. So, so this guy almost doesn't have a chance, almost. Now, as a conclusion, being and building financial freedom is a continuous process. At some point, when people get used to a certain lifestyle, then it will become part of this person's life. So it's not going to take the person explicitly time to think and follow the plan. Second thing, requires focus and discipline, at least in the beginning, until you build habits. Building habits, it's how we treat money. Probably you've heard of this movement, I think it started in the US, of silent wealth. You've heard about it? Yeah, you know what it is. People buy stuff, but not as a symbol of social status. This is their way to. This new movement. I'm not sure if it's in Europe and how much it's in Europe. And finally, adaptation of the goal, the plan, the steps, everything. If you feel that the goal is weak, which means that very highly achievable in short period, put another goal. It's okay. Have in mind that some numbers. Have in mind that Europe doesn't do that kind of statistics, but in the US, one in I think around 11% for adults define for themselves that they're financially free. Also, please have in mind that back to the younger profiles, have in mind that again in the US, only 27% of college graduates later work what they have a work related to what they studied, which means that if you're in statistics, 3 out of 4 people in the room are not going to work anything related to what you study. So that's it from me. Hopefully it's been interesting to you. Thank you.
What method would you recommend for getting rich quick?
I cannot say it better here. No recommendation.
Look, guys, if you invest $1,000 in your first year out of university, you earn just 6% on it. Then when you turn 65, that's going to be worth $10,285. So the lesson that you should be taking from this is there are no easy get rich quick schemes, or we'd all be doing it. The real lesson is invest early. So once you start getting that income straight out of university, if you can get those savings put away and they just accumulate and compound, that 1,000 that you save in your first month out of university will be worth 10,000 when you go to retire. So get saving early. That's the real answer to it.
Or if I have to relate it to the slides, your tolerance to risk is much higher than mine, but I define myself as a quite a risky player, so I wouldn't recommend my methods.
The other thing is, you're never going to get rich working for someone else, unless you're Jack Welch, right? Which is quite a rare individual. If you can start a business and grow a business, then you can really get rich having other people work for you.
Like no, actually, I will say one thing: I stay away from crypto. No, only stocks and options.
So not diversification.
All-in. That's what the gambler there said, no?
Not the gambler, excuse me.
Okay.
Cost of education, like alternative real estate, that's the best.
No diversification at all.
Wow.
Other question, comments? Someone disagrees with something?
Okay, so why have you decided to not diversify that much?
Okay. Having in mind my character and the fact that I define myself as a risky person, even at that age, and the fact that imagine you're buying I don't know, land apartment now. How much time it will take you to get the money back? Flexibility is the other word. So risk instruments plus flexibility and the fact that in no time I can get back the money is enough for me.
Liquidity. You get rid of the asset quickly and recover your investment.
I intentionally do not use the word that I understand what I invest in. Intentionally.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nilo. As we are almost making the end of our first conference day, it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for, the giveaway draw. One lucky attendee will receive a voucher for a 2-night stay with breakfast and superior room included for 5-star Kings Valley Hotel and Medical Spa. So, drums please. And the winner is Boyan Manchev. Is he here?
No.
That's you?
Yes.
Okay, come here. And here you go. Thank you all for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow at 12 p.m. for an exciting HR booth session until 2 p.m. We will welcome guest speakers from our IT, Uwe, Ibro Younger, and our independent speaker, Martini Liev. Stay tuned for another giveaway and a cocktail night. See you soon.